BB851, turn right, heading 180. 14 Papa, turn right 245, report localizer established 27.
The Heathrow expansion has not been a pretty one. While likely be pretty if it finally is completed, the entire lead up, I think the vast majority can say, has been nothing but messy, with protests, delays, many people just generally opposing it, and more. An expansion to the already existing Heathrow would see neighbourhoods destroyed as a third runway would be added. The plans were finally approved not that long ago, and work was set to commence at some point in the future. However, these plans have now been delayed by another year. The delay comes as the CAA, the UK's Civil Aviation Authority, rejected the spending plans that Heathrow had proposed. The difference in their spending was actually huge, in fact. They were looking at gaining the approval for spending of £2 billion in the planning phase. That's actually up from the £650 million originally quoted, nearly a £1.5 billion difference. The increase in costs comes as their original deadline was so close. So with this news, when will the project actually be completed? Well, it's going to be some time. In fact, Heathrow is expecting to finish the third runway and have it operating towards the end of the decade, about to begin. In fact, we could see the works done by 2029. Of course, I want to mention that with everything, it's probably unrealistic to expect a project of this size to be completed by 2029, or really on the date they say. While we're taking into account an extra delay, it doesn't actually mean that we won't see further delays in the planning stage, and then of course, we have probably the toughest part: executing these plans into an actual expansion. Like all buildings and projects, delays can come in that phase. While the CAA is still going to consider Heathrow's aim to spend quicker and higher to get the project finished earlier, it's more than likely this won't occur. The CAA see Heathrow's ambition of getting a runway done by 2026 at the earliest as incredibly aggressive and not entirely reasonable. Now, when I say aggressive, I mean really quickly. They'd much rather they limit the spending in the planning phase, something Heathrow isn't completely for if they want to hit that original deadline, and hence why we're now seeing delays and the years 2028 and also 2029 thrown up. Typically though, questions will now arise over whether a third runway and major expansion will actually occur, especially given this being just another delay. There's of course arguments of already either expanding Gatwick and or creating a whole new airport for London that it ease stress on Heathrow, which as we know has been running at maximum capacity for some time now, with slots being incredibly hard to get and incredibly high priced for anyone wanting to buy a slot. While this channel will never be heavily political and never really dive into politics deeply, it's worth mentioning that Brexit can still play a part in all this, and also the thoughts of major carriers like that of British Airways, which of course have Heathrow as their main base, have not been entirely for the expansion to date. What are your thoughts? Do you believe 2029 is a realistic date, or would everyone be better off with an expansion occurring at Gatwick or another London airport? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below, as always.